Throughout my life, the Ten Rings gave our family power. If you want them to be yours one day, you have to show me you are strong enough to carry them.
You are a product of all who came before you. The legacy of your family. You are your mother. And whether you like it or not, you are also your father.
I told my men they wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried. Glad I was right.
You're just a criminal who murders people.
Be careful how you speak to me, boy.
I thought I could change my name, start a new life. But I could never escape his shadow.
My son, you can't run from your past.
Is this what you wanted?
You got this.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my brand new Marvel Shang-Chi trailer video. There's a whole bunch of big reveals here. We just saw Abomination in the trailer, pretty big Easter egg. He's going to show up during the She-Hulk series as well. So we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're also doing a giveaway for Disney Plus memberships. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and post your favorite Easter egg from the trailer on the video. Probably two biggest reveals from the trailer here is what's going on with Michelle Yeoh's character, confirming a big theory about who she's playing, and then just figuring out what's going on with Abomination during the events of this film. A lot of you are also asking if he's fighting Wong here because it looks a little bit like Wong. It's another magician, another person who's using magic like Doctor Strange and Wong use. It could be him, but why would he be in a tournament fighting against the Abomination? Like, why would he be so hard up for cash that he would be fighting in a tournament like this? If we get any more details about that, I'll just add it to my next big Shang-Chi video. But just starting at the beginning of the footage and working our way through shot by shot. So at the beginning, the Mandarin, whose name is Wenwu, like they'll be calling him Wenwu, but some people, like the people who fear him, will probably call him the Mandarin, is talking to Shang-Chi as a child about the actual Ten Rings in the history and how they've given him power and enabled him to build this really strong family, this strong organization that is the Ten Rings. The way they're connecting this to the first Iron Man film with the Ten Rings organization, and obviously in Iron Man 3 with the fake version of the Mandarin, is that he leads the true Ten Rings organization, and the version that we saw in Iron Man 1 was just a splinter cell. Like there are different splinter cells of the organization operating independently all over the world, but they're all subservient to the true Mandarin here, Wenwu, this character that we're just meeting now. Tony Leung, obviously fantastic actor. If you haven't seen any of his kung fu or any of his action films, he's also had some really epic fights. So obviously they kind of tease that during this when he's fighting Shang-Chi for control of the Ten Rings later in the trailer. You kind of see that with their different colors of energy. The very simple reason why Marvel color codes people's powers very distinctly is so that it's easier for non-comic book readers or casual fans to understand what's happening when things get really crazy in the big fight scenes or the big action scenes. They just did the exact same thing with magic during WandaVision. So Scarlet Witch's chaos magic is color-coded red in the MCU, but you also have Agatha Harkness's magic, which is a little bit different. It's all about stealing power from other people to power herself up, so it's color-coded purple. Then you have Loki's magic, which is color-coded green, and because Sylvie, like the brand new Loki variant we met, the female version of Loki, her magic is also color-coded green, just a slightly different shade of green. After the very first trailer dropped, a lot of people were looking at his costume, Shang-Chi's costume, and why the arms were so bare. Obviously, they're eventually foreshadowing him mastering the Ten Rings, taking them from his father, and then they'll just fill all that empty space on his arms. So in like Avengers 5, when he crosses over with the Avengers or becomes part of the team, and he's using his powers, he'll look just like Tony Leung does in his costume, only with the orange energy. The other interesting difference between their powers, too, it obviously seems like it's almost the same power, just color-coded a little differently. But when all the energy lights up this giant painting here with the dragon and the water explodes, it lights up the orange color that he's wielding later. The movie will probably explain why the Mandarin's power is color-coded purple. It might be like the super soldier serum metaphor, like the whole idea that if you give the super soldier serum to someone, it just brings out more of what's there. It just amplifies more of what you already are. Red Skull was kind of a monster before he got the serum, and it turned him into more of a literal monster. So maybe there was some crazy darkness inside the Mandarin before he got the 10 rings, and then when he got their power, it just brought that out even more. And that's why his power is color-coded purple instead of being color-coded orange, like the orange that's lighting up in this carving. There's a couple of big battles that are happening during the trailer, some of them in present day and some of them in the distant past. I think part of the idea is that the power that he gains from the 10 rings is what also gives him extremely long life, which is why it looks like he hasn't gotten any older from these flashback scenes. Like he basically stopped aging the minute that he attained the 10 rings. That gets into what's going on with Michelle Yeoh's character during the trailer. I'll talk about her in a second too, because she doesn't really show up till a little bit later. It's not super clear what's happening in this ancient battle, other than a lot of these people that he's fighting against seem like the same order of monks that they're fighting in present day that Shang-Chi is trying to help defend, like when he's fighting his father. But this brand new footage gives you a much better tutorial for how the power of the 10 rings works, so it almost looks like he's using them as projectiles. But that's not exactly what's happening. It's almost like he's using the rings as some sort of retractable cannon for some special energy that they're giving off. They haven't completely explained how the MCU 10 rings will work, but in the comics, each different ring has a distinct power that's very, very different from the others. At least in all this trailer footage and the footage that we've seen so far, when the Mandarin uses the 10 rings in all the different scenes, it's always the same kind of energy, so they might just be simplifying the way their power works. They said one of the big things they wanted to get across with this version of the Mandarin, like the real Mandarin of the MCU, was that he wasn't just a mustache-twirling villain, metaphorically or literally. Notice that he has no mustache in present day, but also that he was a very understandable character, and you could understand his relationship with his family. It's pretty clear that Shang-Chi's mother has died during the events of the film. You finally get a scene with her, but as Shang-Chi implies, even though his father leads this giant criminal organization and just goes around hurting people all over the world, he still cares about his family. Like, you still understand that pretty clearly during the film. Even though he's just the latest in a long line of terrible Marvel dads. Like, Ego the Living Planet, will you please stand up? Thanos, also one of Marvel's most terrible dads. Even Hank Pym has a bit of a dark past, like he has a bit of a temper on him, just like comic book Hank Pym. So the whole idea here, though, is that he eventually wants to pass his legacy on to Shang-Chi, and he has to train him to be the world's best fighter. Like, they sort of hyped that up during the trailer. I told my fighters that they wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried, and it seems like they definitely do try. So the idea is that even without the 10 rings, he's supposed to be someone who could fight at least most of the Avengers without crazy superpowers, but once he does have the 10 rings, that puts him on the level of some of the other A-list Avengers. Depending on how they scale the power of the 10 rings in the MCU, he could probably go toe-to-toe with Thor for a little while. Thor's a little more resilient though, just his natural biology makes him almost immune to a lot of physical attacks. Like, he could get thrashed by the Hulk and then walk it off. Most of the other Avengers can't do that. But you can kind of see how they're setting him up for an Avengers arc down the road, like slowly explaining his origin story, why he's such a badass fighter, and then giving him his big power upgrade with the actual 10 rings once he defeats his father. They have a new version of the Marvel intro scene that's a little bit more gold, and also the flipping pages, like the comic book pages that they bake in, are also pages of Shang-Chi in the comics. They do this for every new Marvel project, like even Loki has his own custom version of the Marvel Studios intro logo. So they're not totally clear what's going on with this island here, only that it's probably connected to the Great Protector Dragon, which seems like the movie's version of Fin Fang Foom. Like, we actually see the dragon itself show up at the end, and it doesn't look anything like comic book Fin Fang Foom. And I think the way the main actor, Simu Liu, explained it, there is no actual Fin Fang Foom in the movie. They sort of replaced it with the idea of the Great Protector. But I think they're implying here is that this is where the Mandarin found the 10 rings, and maybe Michelle Yeoh is actually playing the dragon character, and maybe when you see them talking during the trailer, she's just taken human form. Like, it's pretty clear that she's training him to fight, training him to control the power of the 10 rings in his eventual battle with his father, like when you see him using that orange energy. But you also see flashbacks with the Mandarin fighting against her too, so it sounds like that's also the way that he learned to control the 10 rings. And that'll just be the change that they make to his backstory from the comics. In the comics, the McLuhans actually crash a spaceship into China in the mountains, and the Mandarin just happens upon it and finds the 10 rings in their spaceship and just takes them. So I don't know if they're still going to be doing the McLuhans as space dragons, but if that's the case, then this would be the place where their spaceship would have crashed. But I don't know if they're going to be doing the spaceship from the comics. They might have some other way of explaining how the Ten Rings themselves wound up on planet Earth. Here's the other thing too, when they show you these flashbacks of his mother sort of training him, you see all these carvings behind him. It's the same carvings that you see him standing here when all the water explodes, when he's standing with his father. All these carvings seem like they're meant to depict this place, this island that he goes to, and the dragon itself, the Great Protector Dragon. So it's sort of like this picture across the wall depicts the history of their family. In all these other scenes too, the person you see standing next to his father is Death Dealer in the flashbacks and in present day, who's sort of like his chief lieutenant. I believe the tournament fight scenes we're seeing here and all the other fight scenes that you see happening in this giant building, this big kung fu action set piece, is supposed to be happening in the Hong Kong area. But the whole idea with the tournament arc that they're doing during the movie is them kind of doing Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon with a lot of Marvel energy. Because back during the 1970s, the Shang-Chi character was basically created to be their version of Bruce Lee, because it was part of this big kung fu pop culture craze. Marvel's like, we gotta get in on that, we need our version of Bruce Lee. So that's why they created Shang-Chi. Bruce Lee's nickname was the Dragon, so it's sort of like Marvel's Enter the Dragon, only you actually have a real dragon in the movie as this Great Protector character. But Enter the Dragon was a tournament arc movie. It seems like he fights a couple characters before he works his way up to the Abomination. Like you see him fighting his sister, Xia Ling, who supposedly he hasn't seen for about 10 years when the events of the movie pick up. It's not really clear when this action set piece with the bus is happening in San Francisco, but it's basically a giant chase scene that goes all across San Francisco, with Razor Fist and the other Mandarin's men chasing him down with Katie. Because this is the same area where the events of the Ant-Man movies like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania take place or will take place in Ant-Man 3, I'm really curious to see if any of those characters, like even if Luis shows up during the film. I know we're all kind of hoping for Jimmy Woo to become like the new Phil Coulson of the MCU and just show up in every person's film and just get a little bit better at close-up magic every new time that he shows up. I also love the twist on Foo Dogs they have here, like they actually come to life. So these are like stone lions that are supposed to metaphorically be guardians of Chinese temples. But obviously because this is a comic book movie, it's more of a literal thing, like literal stone lions that come to life and then just start chasing everyone down. So there's still so many big questions about what's happening during the events of the film, like why is it that the Mandarin is fighting this order of monks in the past and in present day, like what is it that he wants? And what is their family's connection to this dragon? And is the Great Protector Dragon the only dragon? Because in some of those other fight scenes in present day, it seems like there are a bunch of tiny little dragons flying around too. Like I said, I think that's just going to be the MCU twist on the McLuhans, so we'll see how they explain them being on planet Earth, like where they came from, if they came in an actual spaceship like the comics, or if they came through a portal or some magical means, or if they crossed through the multiverse. It does seem like this fight scene, though, where they're sort of fighting each other for control of the rings, is happening in that island mountain where he went to train with Michelle Yeoh's character. I'm also just real jacked up to see what's going on with the Abomination. I'm guessing that he's not a huge part of the movie, like he's just like a special moment during this big tournament fight scene, and whatever's been happening since the event of Avengers Endgame for a lot of these characters, he's just been hiding out in the criminal underworld abroad. But like I mentioned earlier, he is supposed to be a main character during the She-Hulk series. Those episodes are going to drop, I believe, sometime in January or early next year. So I'm guessing whatever's happening with him in the Shang-Chi movie will be connected to what's happening with him during the She-Hulk series. They're also doing Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner Hulk during that for a number of different reasons. But I think they're also trying to hype up some sort of rematch between Hulk and Abomination. But if you spotted any of the big Easter eggs in the trailer that I didn't mention in the video, just write them below in the comments. And there'll be a bunch more footage coming in the next couple of months because we are getting closer to the film coming out. It will be a theatrical release too. It won't be coming to Disney Plus like they're doing with the Black Widow film. My Black Widow movie review video will probably post sometime next week. I think I'm allowed to post that Tuesday. I'm working on a new Loki video that should post tomorrow, so if you have any special requests, just leave them in the comments below, and I'll name a giveaway winner when I post that new Loki video. Everyone click here for my full Loki Episode 3 video, and click here for that other Shang-Chi trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.